Hi, this is Jane Hatch. I'm a shamanic practitioner, a psychic. I'm also a survivor of the Secret Space program and MKUltra, and I'm a targeted individual. And I'm really excited and happy to have Nicki Aubrey from Ontario here. She is also a survivor of the Secret Space program. She was mind fractured with MK Ultra to create a super soldier altar, as well as she was a monarch sex slave, which is a very specific, unfortunately, training that they put a lot of young girls through. And I believe I've mostly heard it's girls. I haven't heard a lot of boys that are monarch. I know another woman I interview, Elizabeth Wallace, is monarch, and also not Jeanette. Chantel Fry said she had monarch uh, sex slave training. So I think it's mostly women, and also there's. I wanted to share immediately her bio, which I meant to print out, but I didn't get to it because I thought I was on her timeline and I wasn't. I was 2 hours behind. Okay, so I'm just going to briefly read her bio um, because she said it so nicely, and then we will get right into it from childhood on. What happens? How does someone become end up in this program? There she is. Nicole Aubrey is a starseed, super soldier, and survivor of MKUltra and Monarch programs. She has experienced numerous out of body journeys, astral experiences, and full consciousness merges with alternate versions of herself. That's interesting. It's all interesting. Nicole holds vivid memories of clone lives, parallel realities, and alternative timelines. Her multi-dimensional awakening includes both positive telepathic contact with her galactic team and benevolent extraterrestrials, as well as challenging encounters with demonic entities and human military MyLab operations. Now I really don't know where to begin. There's so much. Yeah, I know where to begin. The beginning. Nicole is the author of Aubrey Ascending, Volume 1, a firsthand account of her experiences and deep investigations into the secret space programs and the corporations involved. It is available on Amazon or directly for free by emailing her. She is currently working on Volume 2, where she explores the ways memories return to us and shares her latest experience navigating the multi-dimensional realms. Wow. That is something. Yeah. So I guess we'll still start at the beginning. Now I have like a whole bunch of questions, but let's start at the beginning. How old were you when you feel you were abducted? How were you abducted? Who were your parents? What were your circumstances?
Well, my parents' story is really interesting. They were both adopted, and I believe my dad had been through some satanic ritual stuff. He doesn't admit it, but
Right.
um, and then my mom, we don't know who her father was. Her mom had run away and joined this cult, and
Yeah.
basically her parents were told like you got to go get your daughter, so they brought her back, and she was pregnant with my mom, and we can't get a straight answer out of her like to who my mom's dad is. So there's just weird stuff with my parents, but back in school, like I remember these men. I grew up out in the country. It was a very tiny school. I remember these men in black suits coming to my school and they were like testing us. And
Do you remember
that's a
the
very,
tests?
I remember writing an essay. There had been a murder down the road from my house. And I
And
remember in the essay, I wrote all about the murder. Like I knew details, but I didn't know details. I was only like, I don't know, 7 or 8 at the time. And I only knew what I heard on the news when my parents were watching the news. But I remember like going into detail about this murder and stuff like that. And yeah, it was just very strange to have men in suits. Again, like I grew up in farm country, so nobody wears suits. But it
outside
was
of
just that
Ontario?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Ottawa, just outside of Ottawa,
Okay. I'm
Ontario,
sorry.
Canada. But then, so there's stories about that. I go into that in my book, but I guess where it really started was when I was about 10, I started having like severe mental health issues. I had obsessive compulsive disorder. I had Tourette's, anxiety, depression. I was like suicidal. I was self-harming. Had eating disorders. They even diagnosed me with bipolar and borderline. I was like a wreck. A lot of anger issues
Yeah.
too, and like nobody in my family really, like, sure, they had some depression and stuff, but it was just really odd. And then so I got put in a mental hospital, Royal Ottawa, and back it's been renovated since in 2008 it was renovated, but before they had the hospital, and then they had these cottages which were like group homes. So the kids and the counselors would stay in these cottages. So they were on hospital property, but they weren't attached to the hospital. And they used to let me use the underground tunnels. So they were all connected with underground tunnels. And
Uh,
like I have real life memories of like being in those tunnels, but it was just really strange because like I'd have to go into this little building that looked like a shed, and then there would be stairs going underground, and then I was allowed to walk underground to the hospital where I would meet with my psychologist. And I just don't have any like memories of leaving the tunnels, like I would have had to gone upstairs or gone up an
yeah.
elevator to meet with my psychologist, but that's kind of where my memory ends. Um, yeah, so there's that, the whole mental hospital thing. I had a very strange psychopharmacologist, which everyone told me I was so lucky. I was so lucky because she only
Mm.
takes like one patient, like one child, and I was the child, and they made me
Yeah.
feel so special. And she was from France. Her name was Dr. Flamant, and I just remember her being like really cold, like no empathy. She was very strange. And then anyway, so those are the real life memories, but of course, I became a teenager, I grew up, I got a job, started partying, so I kind of forgot, like I put all that stuff aside. I forgot about it. Um, and then it was fairly recently, like I had my spiritual awakening in 2019, like a Kundalini experience, but then that's when I started watching secret space program stuff, and I was just absolutely fascinated. I was like addicted to it. I'm like, I just wanted all the information, but I never in a million years thought I was a part of it. Never, never, never. I'm like, there's no way.
Yeah.
And then in 2023, I I don't know, I got this like download from my higher self, like you need to just binge read as many books. Like you gotta read. So I got all kinds of books like Secret Space Program, Whistleblowers and stuff like that. And it was actually reading James Rink's book. And when he talked about his childhood, it started like triggering all these memories from my childhood. And I'm like, oh my God, like, oh my God. And it really activated me because I started like getting really paranoid and having panic attacks and stuff. But that prompted me to actually go dig deeper, and I contacted Angie Maxfield Dollar, and she got her to do a remote view. And but she's like, you really have to do hypnosis. Like you should really do a hypnosis session. So I did one with her, and it was great, but I was still skeptical. Like I'm still like, no, like I don't think
Yeah.
I'm still skeptical. And it was that night that I did the hypnosis. I fell asleep, I went to bed, and I woke up in the morning. My cat wanted out, so I put him outside. I went back to bed, and as I'm falling asleep, I know like my body's going into the sleep paralysis, like before you have an out of body experience. So your whole body gets very heavy. It starts vibrating. It starts like then I felt this lifting, and I was having these experiences before, so I'm like, I know what this is. So I'm like, this is cool, but this one was very interesting because it actually showed me um in like it showed me, I don't know, do you want me to go into it?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
saw.
Love it.
So I left my body. I was like pulled out of my body. Um, and first I was in this like realm that looked like Alice in Wonderland. It was very interesting. Um, and I heard that actually MKUltra programming, they do program you with either Alice in Wonderland or the Wizard of Oz, like
Hmm.
programming and stuff. And there was like this. rock, I remember, and I like put my finger and it's rock because you can feel everything. Like when you're out of body, you can smell things, you can feel things, you can touch things, you can, it feels very, very physical. But I put my finger in this caterpillar's mouth. It was huge. It was just sitting on this rock. I could feel it closing, its mouth closing around my finger. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. But then instantly I'm in this other scene. There was a few different scenes that I saw. One of them was with that doctor, Dr. Flamant, and she had me in the hospital, and I was like laying in a bed, and she was in a white lab coat, and she was talking to this man, and I was trying to hear what they were saying, but I couldn't really hear what they were saying. And then she came and grabbed me, and then took me into the closet. Like it was like a hole in the wall, like beside the closet. It was very strange. And we are walking down this long um, hallway. So I don't really know what that one means because it was kind of weird. But then instantly I'm like watching this other scene of me as a child. And again, I'm in a hospital bed and looks kind of like a futuristic hospital. But then Max Spears comes into the room. And I know his energy signature, so I know it was him, but his name was Lucas and he had an Irish accent. In real life, he has a British accent. So I'm like, okay, this is probably an alter or a clone of his. But then he came in and I asked, like, the child me, because I'm witnessing all this, like, I'm watching this, kind of like the movie Scrooge, where he gets pulled out of his body and he gets to see different scenes in his life.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm watching me as a child in this hospital bed, and the child me asks, like, who are you? And he was like, oh, I'm your higher self, like joking. Like I knew he wasn't, but I guess he was just being a dick. But then he
Is
he
this
puts
Max
this,
Spears? We're still
yes,
talking. Okay.
yeah, Max Spears. And then he puts this like X-ray thing up on the wall and he said, congratulations, you're pregnant. We don't know what it is, but we're excited to find out. And I'm like, oh, okay, like and weird. And then I jumped to another scene where I'm basically a child at it was like a Hollywood sex party, and there were like celebrities there, and I was naked,
Of
and I
course.
don't want to go into too much details because it gets pretty gross, but
So
it
was
was,
it a basically a rape scene, a
yeah,
pedophilia rape? Yeah.
yes,
And you're
I was,
still in Astral?
yes, I'm still out of body
Okay.
witnessing this.
All
I
right.
was definitely like trained for this because I remember like I was finished with one old man and I had to go like work the party again. And I
Of
spotted the
course.
food table and I was like starving and I wanted to grab some food. And there was like
Mm.
Jason Bateman was there. And I don't know if he was a good guy or bad guy, but he looked at me and he knew that I wanted the food. And he just kind of like, yeah, go ahead. Like, I won't tell on you.
Kevin Bacon, did you say?
No, Jason Bateman.
Okay, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, and then an old man came and grabbed me and took me into the bedroom. Yeah. So after that experience, I'm like, holy shit, I am a part of this. So I had to really accept it and work through it. But yeah, ever since then, now I'm getting more and more and more memories back. But that was kind of what kicked it all off.
And was that 2019? I'm sorry to
Uh,
interrupt you.
that happened in 2023.
So your memory recall started in 2023?
Yeah, I didn't
Astral.
realize it, but I had been having dreams of the secret space program even before this, but I
What were
didn't know.
your dreams?
There was like oh my gosh, there's so many.
I know. I know. I can.
Um well there's this really interesting one. I was a Japanese woman, okay, and her parents owned this corporation. It was like some kind of medical experiment, like pharmaceutical corporation thing. Um, and my job, like I believe I was MKUltra in that too, because I was very proper. I didn't smile. I was just like a workhorse. Like I just go to work. I lived in this tall skyscraper in a city, and I would just like leave my apartment, go down the elevator, walk across the street into this other skyscraper. And my job was torturing children and babies. And but in that life, I had like this awakening, and I'm like, wait a second, what am I doing? Like, this is horrible. Like, I just started feeling empathy, and I'm like, oh my God, like I can't do this. But I knew that my parents were very powerful people and that I could be killed if so I'm like, I
Yeah.
got to be smart about this. I got to be smart about this. And so I stopped all the experiments that were happening, like told my coworkers to just shut everything down, like I'll be back. I told them I was sick, but I really just had to leave and process like what the fuck was going on. So yeah,
That was one
um,
of your dreams.
that was one of them.
Sounds like an altar of yours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it could be. Yeah. Um, and the fact that she was Japanese, like I don't know, maybe she was a clone that had my DNA or
Yeah, a
something,
clone or an
like or my
altar.
consciousness was put into her. Yeah.
When was that? There's John Whitberg speaks a lot about Japanese culture and the cloning factories. And I
Yeah,
wonder if you were part of that family. I forget the name of the family, but he's very outspoken about it. But I wonder if it was that family.
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. What other dreams that you can recall? I know it's hard to recall dreams at a moment's notice, but
Yeah.
it's like, what
Uh,
did you dream?
yeah, there's a lot of them. Like I put a bunch of them in my first book. I'm working on my second book. There was another one where I was a little like Russian girl. Well, not little, like teenager, like 13, 14 years old. And it was in Russia, and my father was driving me to this facility in the middle of the night, and um then I kind of also had like an awakening. I'm like, why are we doing this? And I talked to my dad. I'm like, Dad, I don't want to go here. I don't want to do this anymore. And he was like, No, you have to. And he injected me with something. Like he was driving, I was in the passenger seat, and then I came to, and I'm in the back seat, and we're outside this facility. It's late at night, and this man comes up, and he was like, So what did she remember? What did she remember? And my dad's like, No, 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 she doesn't remember anything. But I was like kind of conscious, so I'm like hearing this. And my dad's like, You just gotta take her. He's like, You gotta take her. And then that guy grabbed me out of the back seat and took me into the facility and strapped me down on a table, and we were gonna start like the experiments and stuff. And I remember me in that dream thinking like, this isn't right. This isn't right. Like we shouldn't, this can't happen, but I also knew that I was very outnumbered and I didn't have a lot of information yet. So I decided that I was just going to let them train me, turn me into like a superhuman and gather as much intel and information as I can, and then figure out how to take them down from the inside.
Wow. That's really grand thoughts and
Mhm.
brave thoughts for a little girl. How old were you, do you think, then in the
About
dream?
13, 14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you decided early on you were going to be a whistleblower.
Mhm.
Well, those are dramatic dreams, but it sounds like you're dreaming of your clones and alters lives and different
Yes.
choices you made. You made choices to stop the programming.
hmm Yeah, and I believe when we wake up in this life, that it also affects other versions of ourselves. So they start waking up as well. You
That is
know.
so fascinating. And what a good insight to share with other survivors of MK Ultra.
Yeah.
Sorry. I have thought of that lately, but that's reinforcing it. Yeah, we affect our clones and our alters for sure. More
Yeah.
so than they affect us, I think. We have more because we have the essence.
Yes.
Is there any other dream you want to remember or can remember? They're fascinating. You don't have to go in on forever, but if you can remember any more, they're really fascinating.
Um, I don't remember. I don't know. I can't. Yeah, it's hard to recall them
Yeah,
all
I
on the
know. It's
spot.
like on demand
Remember those
dream.
two stick out very vividly. But
All right.
yeah, I
Well,
had this
go ahead.
sorry, I did have this while we're speaking about other versions of ourselves. Well, there's two things, but I had this astral experience just a few months ago that was really interesting. So it's like it's kind of like an out of body, but you're not like another place. You're still like your consciousness is still in your room. So basically, I wake up, my body's paralyzed, it's all vibrating and stuff. and it's almost like there's another dimension overlaid on top of me, and I can touch things, feel things, smell things. It's very physical, but like my body is asleep, but my consciousness is awake. And so I'm having this astral experience, and in it, I'm like this woman, but I feel like she has wings. So I don't know if I've heard that there's Palladian beings that have wings, but she was lying on her back on a table, and this human woman grabbed her, like her forearm, like this, and was about to inject her with a
Mm.
needle. And I'm feeling all of this. Like, this is really very, very real. I'm
Getting
feeling this.
goosebumps.
And so I'm in like inside this other version of me's head, and she's like panicking, and I'm like, oh my God, like we could try and fight this, we could try and fight this, but then for some reason I'm like, oh shit, like we can't fight this because she was already starting like the other version of me was already starting to feel paralyzed. Like she had already been, I don't know, something happened to her. And then I asked, like, what is in that needle? I asked the human woman that grabbed me, like, what's in that needle you're about to put in me? And the word that jumped in my head was anti-venom. And then so I grab, the woman is grabbing my forearm, and I like kind of grab hers, and I could feel her skin was wrinkly, like she was really like old wrinkly skin. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And like she was human, and then she injected me, and then I pass out. And then I'm in this other scene, I call it, where the woman with the wings, is recovering in this hospital bed, but it's in an old abandoned school. Like it's an old school, but it's abandoned, and there's just all these kids running around. And I remember I just started to come out of the paralyzation, and I was like, all these kids were like kind of taking care of me, and like
Hmm.
I'm wondering, what the hell am I doing
What is
here?
going on?
Yeah.
And is
And
this
then
the most recent experience you're talking about, or this is
no.
before? This is still the dreams. Okay. Go ahead.
No, yeah, this was an astral experience. So it's different than a dream. It's not a
Yeah.
dream.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, this is an astral projection or an astral experience with the
yeah,
angel, which is maybe potentially or is a part of you, an alter or a
maybe.
clone. Yeah. Sounds like it, like you were experiencing exactly what she was experiencing.
Mhm. It's like
Yes.
almost like she needed help. Like I'm a part of her, so she needed help, and my soul was like, "Oh, I'll go help you." Like my
Yeah.
consciousness went to kind of help her,
Yeah.
give her strength or something, or give her encouragement, or I don't know.
Yeah. I get it. Yeah. I had a somewhat similar experience lately or about a month ago. I had a clone in a cyborg and there was an accident, I guess, and they called out to me. I had no idea I had a clone in a cyborg. And so I went to them and I was able to grab my soul piece and bring it home. And that was only because there was some sort of malfunction or accident, because normally like the cyborgs go on indefinitely, I guess. They just, but I was able to, and they called out to me, and I'm like, where am I going? I don't even know where I'm going. And I end up in some sort of ship that's had an accident. And I see that you can tell what's you in a way. You just sense I'm them, but I'm me. But, and then I was able to get my essence back. So they
Yeah.
do call out to us.
Yeah.
I think maybe based on what we're seeing in times of duress, especially.
Mhm.
And that's an opportunity too to reconnect or to help them or to integrate.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So let's see. So we skip. So you were 7 when you had the testing, and then around 10, you went into a mental hospital. And
Yes.
then when did the dream start?
Um, well, I was 13, my first 10 when all my issues started, but then 13 was my first mental hospital stay. And then I would stay a few months, get out, come back.
Same
So
doctor,
yeah, she pretty much was there the whole time.
like a handler.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
And now that I've seen her in that out of body experience, I know for sure she was a handler.
Yeah.
She was the one that was drugging me. And actually, if you look her up, if you Google her name,
Oh my
she's a part
gosh.
of all sorts of studies, basically experimenting on children's brains with different pharmaceutical drugs. And yeah, like you can find her on Google.
What's her name?
Dr. Martine with an E, Flamant, Flamant.
I think we
She
should
was
look
part of
her
the,
up, don't you?
yeah,
Right
yeah,
now?
sure, yeah. And then look at the
I mean,
different
will that be
studies.
okay for you? I should ask you if that's
Oh, yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
because she
Absolutely.
probably is not great memories for you. I mean, it's always like when they say, "Oh, you have the best, it's the greatest psycho or the greatest doctor." You pretty much know they're going to be a psychopath.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's what oh, they're the best in the field. And then they're like, okay, here comes the biggest psychopath in their field. Because it's only the crazy people that get to the top
Hmm.
of
I remember
their
finding,
I'm sorry, of
sorry.
their field.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Let's see. Where shall we go first?
Yeah. Hold on.
Uh, okay, that's in French. Let's see. We'll go here.
Can't remember. There's that one website. Let me see if I can.
Full professor, MD, PhD, child and adolescent psychiatry. Let's see if we can get an image of this. I shouldn't say what she is, but I guess I've heard. Oh, that's interesting. No real images of her.
No, there's no pictures. Um,
Interesting. Just
the
little funny little icons. Ooh, that's creepy right there already,
the
right?
there's the University of Ottawa. She was at the Brain and Mind Research Institute.
Okay,
But
here it
I want to
is.
see. There's a website that lists all the studies. I can't. Let me see if I can find it. Where is it?
Bad
Oh, it's
get
ResearchGate. Bad
research
Gap.
gate
Yeah, researchgate.net.
dot net. Okay, not dot com. Researchgate dot net. Discover scientific knowledge. I'm so like sarcastic about all these things now. Anything that's to do with science, unfortunately. Okay. Biology can
Should be able to type in her name somewhere. There should be a
okay.
search.
Search publications.
Yeah.
Dr. Martine. Sorry, all this equipment gets in my way. I'm moving this because I can't do it. Flamant. Okay. It's
Mm, that's not what I have pictures, like screenshots. I should have sent them to you before we started, but
that's okay.
um there's
You
one here, tranquilizer and hypnotic drug use in French children, adolescents, and their families was one of the studies she was a part of.
it looks like its stuff has been scrubbed.
It might have been.
Um
Um, because I did talk about her on another podcast, or maybe they scrubbed
yeah.
her. They talked about it. But luckily,
That's
I got screenshots.
oh yeah. Are you on your computer?
Um, yeah, I'm on my computer here, but my the screenshots are on my phone.
That's interesting that there's like there's not much on her anymore, which doesn't Dr. Martine, Martineflamant,
You could
right?
type in Ottawa, like put Ottawa beside her name, and it might get more specific.
Auto. I wish I could see professor in the department of and she is a psychiatrist at the Royal Ottawa Mental Center, especially in child and adolescent psychiatry. use. She's focused on use psychiatry, obsessive compulsive eating, mood disorders, and substance use. Yeah, we know what she's really doing. Um, it's
Oh, they're
interesting. There's
like
no
the research gate
pictures.
one. The
Hmm? I'm sorry.
the one below that research gate.
Oh yeah.
My lights just flickered. Yeah.
Body. Is this her research? Publication 72. Martine Flamant. Yeah. Publication 72.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's scary.
There's another one, electroconvulsive therapy in adolescents with mood disorder.
Oh my God, that's scary. That is so scary. Mediating role of disorder E in the relationship screen time and body mass development of Ottawa. Yeah, comparison of gender and okay, this is all her publications.
Yeah, those ones are newer. I think it's the older ones where I found all the really questionable ones, like
Yeah, probably before
tranquilizer
she
and hypnotic drug use. Like, what the hell?
is that one of them. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Yeah, it's scary too because the more you have published as an academic, the more esteemed you are. But I've starting to realize the more you're up with the psychopaths. I hate to be blunt, but
No, I agree. They
yeah,
put science ahead of, they don't have any empathy when you get that high. So science is like
exactly.
number one, and
Yeah, and
police
you said
everything.
she was cold and had no empathy.
Yeah.
Did she
And
ask you a lot of questions about sexuality or was she probing your mind? And you were how old? 13?
yeah. Oh my God, yeah, for years, like there was so many questionnaires. Like I probably did hundreds of questionnaires. Like, yeah, I saw her on and off. And even when I left the hospital, she still wanted to see me. And I would find like local counselors, and Dr. Flamant would go to them and get all their information on me. And like, so she tracked me for even after I left the
She's
hospital and stuff.
stalking you.
Yeah.
Basically, she was stalking you. So after you get done with her, so you're 13, and it's hard to have a timeline because there's so many. We're going to go forward, but kind of we're going to go back a little bit. And when I wanted to know, when did you first discover you had been under MK Ultra mind control? Did you have any memory, or what did come next after 13? Whatever way
Um,
you want to say it.
well, I did do a hypnosis session to find out what happened in the underground tunnels at Royal Ottawa and why I never remember like leaving the tunnels.
Okay, that would be great.
And I did see myself get pulled into several rooms. There was a lot of rooms down there, and in one of them they strapped me down and put this like screen in front of my face and played all kinds of like random weird images. Um, I also would like freak out a lot, and they would put me in like a padded room and like try to they wanted me to get as angry as possible because they wanted me to like test my abilities and stuff like that and see what I had. I remember being in the hypnosis, I saw myself getting like experimented on like a lot. Um,
In what way?
uh,
Electrocution, waterboarding.
Electrocution, a lot of like sexual torture and stuff like that.
And
Sometimes they'd use drugs, other times it was just like causing extreme pain and yeah, all kinds of things.
yeah, and they were creating alters through this. That's the basis of MK Ultra is through torture to create disassociation and alters that can be programmable.
Yes, to
Correct.
split
Yeah.
your mind. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they were splitting your mind. And how old were you in these memory recall? Were you being tortured? And by
Um,
who? Do you know who was doing it?
No, I don't know who was doing it. I got the impression that a lot of the people underground kind of stayed underground, and there was only a few of them that actually had jobs at the hospital. Um, yeah, so I'm not really sure who. Definitely Dr. Flamant was there, but I don't recognize the other people.
Do you think the military was involved in your abduction?
So funny.
Yeah.
Up until this point, all my experiences, I've never seen military until just recently, like literally 2 weeks ago, well, last week, I guess, I started having some military experiences. So I don't know if you want me to talk about that.
I do.
Okay. So I was sleeping and I wake up in the middle of the night and it's like this bubble kind of opens up in the left side of my brain and it's a telepathic conduit. And my brain's feeling buzzy. So this happens a lot where my brain gets really buzzy. It feels like my brain is being pressure washed. And these are like physical sensations in my brain. And I've had this probably 20 times now. I don't know. It's a really funny sensation. Nobody's been really able to tell me like what that is, what's going on. Sometimes I have it before ET contact. And one time ETs actually were doing it to the right side of my brain. Um, but anyway, okay, back to the
Well,
military story.
one
So
question. Do you know which ETs?
they were Palladian.
Pleiadian. Okay. Good
And they were,
Pleiadian or
they were
no?
positive. I
Okay.
remember she told me her name and she sang to me and she sounded like an angel and she was really sweet. So I don't always associate this feeling in my brain as a bad thing.
Okay. Okay.
But so my brain was kind of feeling that buzziness, that
Yeah.
pressure washy feeling, and I felt this bubble open up in the left side of my brain and it's like I picked up the phone and there was somebody on the other end. And I'm like, hello, like in my head. And it was a man and he said, hello. And I'm like, who are you? And he told me his name was Tito Lucas. And I'm like, and I'm using my psychic abilities to kind of scan. And I could see him sitting at a desk and he was in military. He was a human and he was wearing military fatigues. And he told me I was having a seizure. And I'm like, what? I'm like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
Like I'm not. I'm like, this
Gaslighting you.
happens to my brain all the time. Plus, like a seizure, why am I conscious and awake and
Yeah.
aware? And
Yeah.
he and I asked him a bunch of other questions and I kind of forget, like sometimes I forget what they say. Other times I think I'm being blocked, but I did ask him how he was speaking to me telepathically. I'm like, are you using some kind of device? Or like, and he said, no, he learned it in Germany. He grew up in Germany and learned it in Germany. And I'm like, okay.
That's
And then,
interesting.
yeah, what other questions did I ask him? I don't know. It's all going to be in my second book, but
Okay.
and then that was the most important thing. Oh yeah, and I asked him, I'm like, is this related to the secret space program, like Dark Fleet, Solar Warden? And he was confused. He didn't know what I was talking about. And and then I could feel it, the conduit closing. I could feel it kind of fading away, and then that was gone. And then I'm like lying in bed, like, whoa, what the hell was that? And then a couple days later, I have another experience. This was during a nap. And oh, I probably should have mentioned this before. Sorry. The day before this Tito Lucas experience, there was a Chinook helicopter that flew over my house, and it was so low that my whole house was shaking, and it like scared my cats. Like a military helicopter, and there is a military base 45 minutes from me, but I never see their Chinooks this far out. Like they usually
Chinook.
don't come in this direction. Yeah, it's a military helicopter.
Okay.
Kind of looks like a tube, and then it's got two propellers.
Oh,
Like,
okay. Okay.
yeah. And I remember after that, Chinook flew very low over my house about an hour after I got so tired. This was the middle of the day, and I got so tired I had to take a nap. But anyway, and then it was that night that I had this telepathic experience. And then a couple days later, I was tired. I got really tired during the day. I laid down to take a nap, and then it happened again where I was sleeping, but my consciousness woke up. My mind was awake and aware. You know, the body's paralyzed, but I'm awake. And it was like picking up the telephone. Like this is what this telepathic conduit feels like. It's like picking up the telephone, but this time nobody was on the other end. I could just kind of hear background noise, like when you get butt dialed, like you can hear the background noise.
Yeah, right.
I knew somebody was there and I wanted him to talk to me like Tito did. And but nobody was answering me. And I was like trying to get their attention. I was doing like getting mad and then I was getting sad. Like I was just trying to get their attention for them to talk to me. Um, but then nothing happened that time. And then I had a third experience. It was a couple nights after this one. Same thing. Wake up in the middle of the night. I'm having this like pressure in my brain. It feels like if you've ever had a pressure washer on your hand, like it feels like that, but in your brain. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
then felt this like pea size like pressure just like go from the back of my skull like up. And then it was getting really intense this time. Like this was really intense. And my whole brain is just friggin' vibrating. And there was another guy that spoke to me, and I asked him, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what the hell are you doing to my brain? He didn't answer, but I asked him who he was. He said his name was Theodore. Um, and his voice was kind of fading in and out, so the connection wasn't as clear with him. But I remember asking him also, was this secret space program related? And he was like, interesting. Like,
Mm.
either he hadn't heard of this before, or maybe they call it something different, or maybe this is just local military. Like, maybe it's not, like, I don't know.
Yeah, because it's so compartmentalized. Those at the bottom don't know what's going on at the top. It's very compartmentalized.
Yes, exactly. And then
Yeah,
that's the impression that I got from both Theodore and Tito is they don't know. Like they're just doing their job kind of. They don't really know what's going on
yeah,
or what they're talking
exactly.
about. But this pressure and shit got so intense in my head and it ended up calling out for my guides and like source. I'm like, higher self, like what the hell? This is like freaking crazy. Um, and then that experience ended. Yeah, so that's my first and only like kind of encounters with military. There's another experience too that involves military that just it's the most recent one. It just happened recently.
Before we go any further, I wanted to ask when you were having, so you're going to this crazy doctor, Martine Flamant. I probably shouldn't say that, but anyway, um, you were having a normal life somewhere in on the planet. Like you were going to school, you were so all of these things that you're talking about now, you were actually also having a front life that kind of covered up all the other. So you were being abducted. Were you physically being abducted, or are they taking your soul? Like John Whitberg and some people, they're taken, their souls are taken. Were you physically taken from your home? And what were your parents doing during all of this?
I believe I was physically taken, and they have the time travel technology where they can literally abduct you physically, and then like 20 in bags, you can go do experiments, do whatever, and then they put you back like
Right,
seconds after you were taken. So like no time on Earth has passed.
right.
I believe that's what was happening to me.
Okay,
But that doesn't come without repercussions because you go, get experimented on, you live this other life or whatever, they put you back, they wipe your memory, so you don't remember any of it. They put you back in time, so no time has passed, so nobody would even notice you were missing at
okay,
all. But then you start to get bleed through and you start to have issues, develop issues, maybe physical issues, mental health issues, because
like
your
you had.
subconscious, yeah, like your subconscious and your soul remembers all of that.
Yeah,
You, the human, the physical person, doesn't. And,
the
so
brain
that can
doesn't.
cause a crisis, in
Yeah.
your
Well,
psyche.
the brain doesn't remember, but I think the body remembers trauma and the soul. So
Yes.
they can only partially wipe, our memories because we remember from our body. I think there's been studies for better or for worse. I know through my shamanic teacher Sandra Ingerman, like trauma is stored in the body. So
Mhm.
they can't get rid of that. That's there. And if you go to that place, it's going to recall it.
Yeah.
It holds all the information. So So you think you did that explains it. You did a 20 and back, basically. And during that 20 and back, you were having all these experiences, whereas nobody noticed. I think this actually happened to me too. Like I would be gone for very short period. Well, it would seem like short periods, but it was, I think I did a 20 and back too. And so, and then we're progressing. And as you progress through your life, you're remembering the 20 and back. And your parents wouldn't even know you were gone. Were they supportive parents? Were they good parents, or were they
Yeah.
handlers? They were good
Um,
parents.
I think they were really good parents. Yeah.
That's
I don't blame them
interesting.
for putting me in the mental hospital because back then this was like they didn't know what else to do, you know. Um,
Yeah,
they were really good parents. Yeah,
it's
I tell them all
interesting.
this stuff. They're kind of awakened now,
Yeah,
but not really. But I tell them all this stuff and I think they believe me, but they're like, it's too scary for them. They're like, oh,
yeah, yeah. I think that's like with my daughters too. Well, there's one daughter is actually a lot like you. She's 28. I think she was in the program too, but she totally believes me. My other two daughters, they they trust me, and but they're like, yeah, I don't know how to say it. They trust me as a human, so they don't really know what to do with the information because their consciousness is going, but their soul is like, oh, we trust her. Like she always has told us the truth. Why would she deviate now? So I do basically have their, you know, basically of all, I have three daughters. But you're lucky you had good parents. That's very unusual in
Mhm.
SSP and target. Yeah, because usually they want you re-traumatized constantly so you don't get these memories back because you're
Yeah,
dealing with the front family trauma. You're always
yeah.
dealing with the trauma that's happening, so you don't recall. So I know you're not lucky in general, of course, to have been, but to have pretty good parents.
I think
So
I got my trauma other places. Like all my relationships were very traumatic,
yeah,
and my trauma came, re-traumatization came through other things, but at least it didn't come through my parents.
yeah, they'll drive people into your life like demonic men, you know, all kinds of really bad men that will trick, you know, somehow know the in, right?
Hmm.
Know your attraction, your weaknesses all in one bundle. Yeah.
Yep.
Do you mind me asking how old you are now, or
36.
36? I thought you were like 20.
Oh, thank you.
The magic age, 29, right? I was gonna say you were the same age as my youngest daughter, who's 28.
I was almost switched at birth too. So I don't know if yeah, my mom, she's like, I know I had a girl. Ultrasounds and stuff weren't really that popular back in the 80s, or at least in this small town. And she's like, I know I had a girl. Like, I knew you were a girl. I just knew you were a girl. And she said my birth was super quick. Like, she was only in labor 45 minutes. I wanted out of there. And she was at the hospital and like she gave birth right away. Like, as soon as she laid down, the nurses didn't believe that she was giving birth that quickly. And anyway, I popped out and the nurses took me into another room. And then they gave my mom back a baby boy. My mom's like, no, 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 no. I had a girl. So I don't
So
know,
maybe
maybe,
they were trying to switch you out to surrogate,
maybe.
and you
Yeah.
got lucky that your mom was like cognitive and proactive. And wow,
Yeah.
that is scary. They were trying to put you into another family, I bet.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting. Medical malpractice, the worst place to be sick or have a baby or do anything is in a hospital.
Hmm.
I mean, especially if you're part of this SSP or targeted or anything,
Yeah.
whistleblower, you know, poor Virginia Giuffre, um, they probably killed her. I mean, there's no
Yes.
doubt.
I haven't watched your I know I
Oh
saw it
yeah,
on I haven't
it
watched it
got
yet, but
much
I
more
hope.
intense than I thought. Yeah, but it wasn't totally shocking. I know that it happens. I know that whistleblower William Coombs in Canada, who was set, he had personally witnessed uh, Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip abducting 10 Kamloops Native children in 1964. and he was
Mhm.
set to testify in 2011, and he was killed in a hospital at St. Paul's in Vancouver, and his nurse testified to it. She saw everything, and she saw the symptoms, and she believes he was poisoned. So
Mhm.
it's no big news to people like us. um, and that's why when she said she had 4 days to live, I think they told her that they would she was going to die in 4 days, and she thought maybe it was from kidney, but it was they were going to assassinate her in 4 days.
Yeah.
Anyway, so okay, before we go any further, I wanted to ask you about super soldier. It's a term a lot of us understand, a lot of us don't understand. There might be new people on here. I think I understand it, but can you explain your experience, how they made you into super soldier, how they used you as a super soldier, and what are the attributes of a super soldier?
Mhm. So there's different ways, from my understanding, that they can make a super soldier. They can either split your consciousness, take one aspect of that, and you basically torture it to the point where your abilities come out. It's like the mother whose child gets stuck under a car, and all of a sudden in that moment of trauma she can has the adrenaline rush and can lift the car. So that's
Right.
kind of the same, along the same lines of how they do it. They torture you so much that your survival instincts come out. So they can do that to an alter. They can also take a piece of your consciousness and put it into a clone, and they can just have the clone be the super soldier, which I think probably happens a lot more, because then the clones get sold off to these different corporations and companies,
Yeah.
and then they can do whatever they want to. They can put cybernetics in you, fill you up with nanotech. They can give you like a AI eyeball. Like, so the clone, they can do whatever they want
Whatever
to.
they want. They don't consider them human, but they're a part of us. I mean,
Hmm.
they have an essence of humanity in them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they mostly do it with clones. They sell them off to the different corporations and companies, and then they do whatever they want with them. They can even make like sex slaves and literally whatever they want, or just experiment on them, try out different medical testing and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, did that, what was your question?
I know, I get it. Your experience as a super soldier and how they made you and what were your duties. Do you think they put you in a clone, or do you think they used one of your alters, or and what were your duties as a super soldier slave? Basically, you become a slave.
Yeah, so I have memories of sometimes I was just to explore other planets. So they modified me so that um, I was not susceptible to diseases, that I couldn't get hurt very easily. I had a metal arm. There was a lot of tech in it. And one memory, I was just literally went with this team. They dropped us off on this planet, this unfamiliar planet, and our job was to just explore and like capture any creatures that we came across, and like plant life and stuff like that. I was kind of the muscle, there were scientists with me who would do that, mostly that stuff. Yeah,
Now,
so that
was
was
this a clone of you, or an alter, or you?
a clone.
A clone. Okay, they made a clone of you into a super soldier, and one of your jobs was exploration on foreign planets, or if not foreign, but
Yeah,
just
on
like the
undiscovered planet.
Starship Enterprise,
Oh,
except not as
yes.
fun.
Yeah.
So did you find anything on that planet that you recall that they
Um, it was very rocky and very barren. We didn't really find very much, and the company that I worked for, they wanted to colonize it and basically terraform it and make it like an outpost, basically take control of that planet. Um, but I don't think we really found all that much. I had another memory of fighting these giant ant beings in Mars, like underground Mars. Um, we had like an operation post to set up, and I wasn't like the supervisor, but I was kind of basically ordering people around. I remember I had a lot of cybernetics in my body. So we would fight these like ant creatures and
Mhm.
take over their tunnels because we wanted the underground tunnels and they had a bunch of underground tunnels. So we just wanted to kill them and take them over for ourselves.
Of
Yeah.
course, let's, like we're always just colonizing whatever we can find, even if it's a pile of rocks.
Hmm.
Penny Bradley
Yeah.
talks a lot about just like having to wipe out civilizations just because we wanted more land. And
Just,
so
yeah. Greed.
greed, total greed and power. Do you recall if you were working for the Nazis or the Germans or the US military, or do you have any recall who you were working for?
Um, I'm not really sure. I've had like different psychic readings that said that I was a part of Solar Warden, I was a part of Darkfleet, I was a part of the Mars Defense Colony. So I don't know, like I personally don't have any like vivid recall enough where I can say, yes, for sure, I was working for this company.
Yeah.
Um, just like what psychics have told me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also not just countries, it's corporations. Like they're huge, they're as powerful as countries now, to a
Mhm.
degree. And, Raytheon and all these weapons companies.
Mhm.
And of course,
I also,
politicians, the
yeah,
Clintons have been seen on many different planets and own a lot of slaves.
yeah. I had this now I think this was an altar because I believe this did happen when I was a teenager, young. I was like a sex assassin. I basically had to go and they took me and they activated an altar and it was like my sex altar and I had to go and basically seduce this politician. He was an Arab guy. And but it was like at a strip club, so I know in those countries, women have to be covered up, but the elites of the countries had these like underground strip clubs with women dancing naked and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Uh,
Everything's different for the elite.
yeah, yeah. And so I didn't have to be covered up, in fact, the less clothes, the better. And I basically just had to seduce this guy and get him into a room, like a private room, and give him a private dance. And I was able to. And then these military, they were all in black. I don't really know who they were, who I was working for, but these like military guys are like all in black and they basically kind of portaled in and then grabbed him.
You
And
came through a portal.
yeah, there was able to open a portal like
Whoa.
right there in that room where I was.
Was it in America? Was this on Earth?
Yes.
This is happening on Earth. Were you or you a clone or an alter?
I
That's
think
that's
it was
so
an altar. Pretty sure I was, they took me, grabbed me
yeah.
in the middle of the night, and then, read an activation code. I switched into that woman and then went and did this mission. And then they brought me back. They had to activate my front altar. They put me back in my bed and then like wiped my memory. And I woke up with no memory of it. But usually you feel really, really shitty in the morning. Like, feel
Like
hungover, or, like
and
crappy,
exhausted.
exhausted, and like, yeah.
There doesn't seem to be any protection for abductions. Like I know John Whitberg, even my daughter talks about it, and you like, you think that would have some angelic protection. Like, how can they keep taking us if we have any free will whatsoever? If we're on a supposedly free will planet, which is debatable if everyone's under mind control, and they know that because we're creating our reality from our mind. And if we're under mind control, we're creating what they want us. So, where is the protection from these abductions? And James Ring, he has Ring on Facebook, which I find.
Yeah, that was like an altar of his or something, but he,
Okay. Yeah. I was like, okay, I know it's him by his picture, but he is constantly, he thinks nightly being abducted. I don't know if I am. I woke up with a very strange mark the other day, but I don't feel like I have it to the degree that you people have it. But I'm just, I'm always analyzing things like, why is there no protection? Why do they have carte blanche on our
I
souls?
have a couple of things to say on that.
All
So
right.
I do believe that um well, first of all, there's like contracts, and I don't know
Yeah,
how we sign these contracts, but like we are owned by these corporations, which
right.
I think it's fair because it doesn't meet the standards of a contract. There needs to be informed consent and
And
all
some
this
are
stuff.
done under gunpoint. John
Yeah,
Whitberg,
under duress.
recalls his mother signed a contract under literal gunpoint. Is that a
Yeah,
real
so
is
that's
that a contract? I don't think
no,
so.
it should be void. Your contract
Exactly.
should be void, but there's that aspect of it, but then I also believe that we are not just super soldiers for like down here on Earth, but we actually are work for different federations like Galactic Federation and different councils. And our job is to basically come and infiltrate, right? And then we report to them like, okay, this is where they are, this is what's going on, this is what's happening. So it helps them to take the bad guys out, like they can't just go in and like the good guys can't just go in. And a lot of these things happen in pocket realities and stuff in underground tunnels and stuff like
Mm,
that. So the good guys, the Galactic Federation stuff, can't just come and infiltrate. So we are basically the infiltrators. We're infiltrating the bad programs, the negative programs. We kind of volunteered to be bait in a way. Sounds
uh-huh.
horrible, but
Yeah,
so that, yeah.
that's interesting.
And then
Have
it
you
would
been
give them permission to come and save us, because especially if we're the starseeds, like we're them, like say I'm Palladian, then they have a right to come and rescue um, one of their own.
right?
So then it gives them permission. So yeah.
Okay, so they're abducting you for good reasons, you're saying at this point.
Well, I think there's my soul knows, I think there's a bigger plan in place.
Okay.
I don't think I'm obviously being abducted for bad things and for bad reasons, but I
Mhm.
think that there is a bigger picture to all of this.
Okay, that explains it. It's a small piece of a big puzzle that you're playing. Why do you think they pick you for a super soldier, or what is the connecting theme, if there is one, between all super soldiers? Is it psionic ability? Um,
Yeah, so that's part of it. So they different bloodlines, they like different bloodlines. They can
yeah.
also read your past lives and find out like, oh, maybe you were an emperor in this past life, or maybe you were this warrior in this past life. A
Oh,
lot of the
right.
people have angelic DNA, which they're very curious about. Like they want to experiment, and we have the essence of the soul, but a lot of us have angelic DNA, which holds lots of superpowers, like lots of power. So they're trying to they want people like that because they torture you and then they activate your powers and then they get to study it. We also are higher beings, like we're not earth souls, we're like higher dimensional beings. A lot of us come from other universes, which they're very curious about. That's why a lot of us get taken,
Mhm.
but they're very curious about our DNA, what kind of abilities that we have. We're able to split our consciousness more easily. So, like a brand new Earth soul that doesn't have the experience that starseeds do, like their mind wouldn't be able to fracture quite like ours.
Yeah, I've
Um,
heard that many times. Like they just go insane instead
mhm,
of fracture, and they have no use for insanity.
mhm.
The MKO, the CIA, they or the Nazis, they want a mind fractured soul, and so they gravitate or they watch for certain star seeds and angelic beings because they know they can fracture their mind. We can fracture our minds and not go insane under torture.
Yes. Yeah.
I've also heard angelic beings are easy to spot coming onto the earth because of their light. They can like grab them or track them easier.
Yes, they've got technology, so they know when like an angelic has incarnated, and then they track them their whole lives. And yeah.
So we're sort of going forward and going back because that's the nature of this piece. Like, you're going forward and you're remembering the past as you go forward. So you go into maybe your 20s on the earth life. What are you doing in your front life, your earth life, and what is happening? Are you still being abducted? And
I believe so. Um, I remember I quit school early at 15 and then got a job and worked my way up through this company. Um, Walmart actually. They kept promoting me, and I was just doing a lot of partying and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't really remember too much. Like I think that they were using me because I would have
Yeah.
days where I'd wake up in bed and I would like be so confused about where I was, even though I was in my own bed. But I would like it would take me like a good minute to be like, oh, like I'm at my house. I'm in bed. I'm in this town, like
Yeah.
it's like I was getting bleed through, like I was somewhere else the night of, and then I wake up and I was just really confused about where I was. So I do believe that they were still using me and still taking me in my 20s. I don't have any really recall of what they were doing with me exactly.
Were you able to have any kind of relationships? Did you have any positive experiences, or were the 20s like just messed up from the beginning?
Like I only had 2 out of 10 boyfriends that weren't abusive and narcissistic.
They were like leaked in somehow.
Yeah. And
Yeah, that's,
no, I had really horrible, horrible relationships.
I
That's
know,
why I
me
just
too.
gave up on them 7 years ago. I'm like, that's it. I'm done. No dating, no relationships, nothing. And honestly, I've never been happier.
Oh, my gosh, it's sad they don't let us have a life either, because that is influence. They're mind controlling certain men into our lives, and mind controlling us at the same
Mhm.
time through remote neural monitoring. And and plus I think it's part of depopulation. They don't want us on the earth unless they can control us. So
Yeah.
if you had children, maybe it's best because they will try to take them and do the same thing. So it's
Or maybe
it's
they
tricky
they
business. Hmm?
maybe they do want us because they know that we have abilities and like they can evolve us into, better humans because that's kind of what they want. Like they want to kill off all the useless ones and they want to make a perfect race of humans and they want to control our evolution.
Yeah, perfect for them.
Perfect for them, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a slave nation, and some of us, others super soldiers. And so what have we missed? Like, we've sort of done the parallel, what was going on in your front life, what was happening in the back life, and the recall. So as you progress, you recall through dreams, through hypnosis, through watching James Rink and all these people. And so was there any other recall that we haven't talked about? You said you
Um,
dealt with demons and ETs. Have we covered that to a degree?
there's so much to
I
talk about.
know, I know. I don't know what time it is, or I could
Um,
go on forever asking you questions. You know the time, or does it matter? I don't know. Does it
I
matter?
don't know the time. I did want to talk about an experience that I just had
All
recently.
right, well, let's go into that now,
Yeah,
because we
I would
got to be an
encourage.
hour into the interview.
Yeah. Okay. So this just happened like last week. This was something that I'd never experienced before. So I have like astral out of body experiences and stuff like that, but this was crazy. This was like a full consciousness merge with another version of me. So I was falling asleep. I hadn't even fallen asleep yet. Most of my experiences, I'm like asleep and then my consciousness wakes up and I'm somewhere else. But this one, I hadn't even fallen asleep yet, but I felt my body getting heavy, getting buzzy, the kind of paralysis feeling where I can't really move. And then my consciousness just like went somewhere else and I was in this woman's body and I was experiencing her life through her eyes. I could feel everything she was feeling, like touch things she could, like I could feel her touching things, like I could feel her emotions. She was like having conversations with people. I could hear the first scene, she's like on the couch with her husband. I knew it was her husband. He was very good looking. And then her kids came into the room and jumped on them, and they were kind of like wrestling with their kids. And they had a black and white dog and a black and white cat. And like, oh my gosh, like I was experiencing life through her eyes. And oh my gosh, there was like a lot of different scenes. Like one of them, I was with my kid, or she was with her kids in the park, and like her mom was there, and her mom was like had black skin. I remember the sun glistening, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I wonder what I look like. And I tried to like jump out of her body so I could get a good look at like what she was, what she looked like. Um, there was a, I remember this one scene with her husband. So they were hugging. He was wearing jeans and like a navy blue t-shirt. And she like had her hand on his chest. And I, Nicole Aubrey, who's in her head, am trying to say to the husband, like I say to the husband, like I take over her, like her mouth, and I say, like, I think a piece of my consciousness is merging with me. I'm not who you think I am. I'm Nicole Aubrey. And I'm like telling her husband this through her. It was so weird.
Oh my
So weird.
gosh.
And I'm like, yeah, trying to figure out, like, I don't really know what's going on at this point, but I'm like trying to like wake her up to the fact that, like I'm inside of her, like I'm inside your head, my consciousness is inside your head and stuff like that. Anyway, and then I'm abruptly back in my own body because now there's a dark presence in my room. So now my
Mm.
consciousness is back in my body in my bed. I get this really eerie feeling there's something dark here. And so I'm like, it's pitch black in my room and my eyes are closed. So I'm psychically scanning and I see military people. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And this one military guy. So this is weird because it's astrally. So it's like, it's almost like they're, I want to say like apparitions, like ghost like he's standing through my bed. Like he's standing to the left of me, but he's
Yeah,
like
or
through my bed.
holographic images or something of real
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. It's like another dimension. It's kind of
Yeah.
phasing into this third dimension. And I feel, so my wrists just go like this, like get slammed together. And then I hear one of the guys open a roll of duct tape. And I'm
Oh
like, oh shit. I'm like, this can't
shit.
be good. So I say in my head, like,
Shit.
oh, I think this is a my lab. This is a my lab. This is a my lab. And then the guy on my left leans in my ear and he repeats a friggin' activation code or a code phrase. He says like it's like November, Thursday, Friday the 5th. And I'm thinking like that doesn't make sense. And then I'm like, oh shit, that's an activation code. And then he says to me, live. And I get, and then I'm like, I gotta
Live,
get out. So I
LIVE.
start, yeah, like live. Like you only have one job, that's to live. And I'm like kind of freaked out at this point because I'm thinking this is a my lab. So I'm like, I gotta wake up. I gotta move my body. I gotta get out of this paralysis. So I start like moving my body. Oh yeah, and at one point I did open my eyes and it was late at night, so it was pitch black, but I see this white flashing light like in my room, like taking over the whole room. Like, and that's when I'm like, I gotta get out of this. Like I gotta like move my body. I gotta get out of this. So I start moving my body, I get out of the paralysis, and then yeah. And then I'm just lying there in bed, like, what the fuck was that? I yeah.
What? Okay, so do you think you were on a mission when you took over this woman's body? Because it sounds like the military was involved if they were right there afterwards. It
Yeah.
wasn't arbitrary. We know something was being orchestrated, right?
Yeah. I have two theories. One of my theories is that that is another version of me in a parallel reality, and that's how I was so easily able to go
Okay.
into her consciousness. And the military was tracking me, and they knew what I was doing, and they're like, "Uh-oh, we can't have that. We can't have that.
Yeah.
You can't
Okay.
do that." They didn't like that, so
That
then
makes
they
sense.
so then they like then the my lab kind of thing happened where I was all of a sudden back in my body and they were very threatening and mean. And so either that happened or maybe that was a mission. Maybe that's one of my abilities is that I can put my consciousness into other people and influence them to do things or say things. But I
Hmm.
ruined the mission because I'm like, hey, hey, I'm Nicole Aubrey. I'm Nicole Aubrey. Like I totally ruined the
You're
mission.
forever the whistleblower.
Yeah. And
Oh
then
my
they're like,
gosh, you
so
just
then
like
they
a
had to bring me back, read an
yeah.
activation code,
Oh, right.
and put me back because they're like, you fucked up this whole mission. You weren't supposed to tell them your real name. And, you were just supposed to subtly influence her consciousness to make certain decisions.
they lost control for a minute. And so they had to show up and what, duct tape your hands or something, threaten you.
Yeah.
And how long ago was this?
Like last week.
So you're still owned to a degree, you're still being used to a degree, but it does seem like have you done a lot of healing work from the trauma?
I have,
I
yes.
mean, you
Yeah.
seem like like you've come to a point of healing. So what sort of healing practices did you use to heal?
A lot of meditation. Um, just going through, well, had to start with healing my own life first, like my physical real life, because I have a
Right.
lot of trauma. So I had to start healing that before even started getting memories back. A lot of guided meditations, a lot of just contemplating, like a lot of just sitting by myself alone with no distractions and just thinking and like kind of working through things. I'd use crystals a lot and
Yeah,
put all
me
my
too.
emotions into a crystal and bury
Yeah.
it in the ground. Um, yeah,
I
mostly through meditation.
have you do you see a practitioner or you're just doing everything on your own?
Well, I'll go to Reiki sometimes and
Yeah.
I'll do like, hypnosis sessions and I'll get
Yeah.
psychic readings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But a lot of it was on my own. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I
you reach
definitely
a
can't go
point.
to any counselors or
I know. I was
therapists,
just going to say the exact same
psychologists.
thing. You reach a point and you're like, there's nobody out there that's not part of that psychopathic system.
Yeah.
And certainly we know about pharmaceuticals. So that is the advantage, like from going through all this, we can see programming immediately. Like we all saw, what was going on with the jab and the fear. Like that was part of MKUltra. They were just terrorizing people into submission. So
Yep.
in that sense, we're totally aware, and that protects us too from the societal mind control because we know what it
Yeah.
is on a personal basis.
Yeah, just being aware is the first step. Like that's huge.
Yeah. Have you found any kind of happiness or peace, or are you have? That's
Yes, I
great.
have.
I'm so glad to hear that. So just living your own life. Do you have any relationships, any friend, do you, or is it all within? It's within.
No, it's all within. I mean,
I
I have a few friends, yes, but
totally get it.
I'm done with relationships. I don't do that anymore. So I spend a lot of time with my kitty cats and outside. I try to get outside as much as
Yeah.
possible. Nature is super healing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
just being outdoors and I love reading and yeah,
How many cats do you have?
6.
Well, I have to confess, I'm not even a cat person. I have four, and they
Ah,
all just came to me. I never went out and get a cat.
yes.
Um, I had one that was just wandering around, and I adopted him like 4 years ago now. And then my daughter that I keep talking about, that Christy told me, says Nikki's just reminds me so. Diane, she left a cat with me. She moved to the East Coast a year ago, and that cat had two kittens before I got her. So yeah, there's the four now, but they're so easy. They're all outdoor. Like they
Yeah.
go out and play all day long and they come in at night and go to bed. So it's nice. And
Yes.
I definitely needed cats in my life for some reason because they came to me. I wasn't looking for them. I've always been a dog person, but
Yeah, same
kind
with
of
me. 4
enjoying
of them
them.
just showed up at my house.
Four
Yeah, and I took them in.
all at
They're indoor
once?
too. Pardon?
All at once they showed up, or
All within a couple weeks of each other.
huh? I saw one behind you a little bit ago.
Yeah.
A gray one, I think. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, have we, is there anything else you want to talk about?
Um, I don't think so. I
It's a
think I,
lot. We covered a lot.
yeah. I
And
think I gave your audience a lot to digest.
yeah, for some people it'll be new material, and For most, it won't be new material, but I think the more information we get out there, the more we can compare and analyze, and it helps all of us. Like I just find everything fascinating that you're saying, and um, because it helps us put the pieces together for
Yes,
all
it's
of
one
us.
big puzzle, and we all just have a couple little pieces, and like we're trying to figure out the bigger picture and the whole puzzle. So that's why, yeah,
Yeah,
it's important that people come forward and speak about their experiences, even if they don't make a whole lot of sense or they don't really know, like, where to place these experiences. But it's just important that people talk about them.
absolutely, because that's all we've got in a way. Nobody's going to come forward unless you're lucky. I don't know. Some people say they've gotten their records from Peter the Insider, but I don't know. I mean, we've basically got each other to help to unveil this secret world that we're all
Yeah.
living in, and everybody's affected, whether they know it or not,
Mhm.
by these secret space programs and MKUltra and mind control.
Mhm.
We're
Yeah,
all
because they don't
affected.
just like Olivia James's testimony, they don't just use people as super soldiers or sex assassins. They need like human resources people. Like they need truck drivers and they need construction
Psychiatrists,
workers and cooks and stuff like that. So there's a lot of,
morticians, and
yeah,
doctors, and
yeah,
they need every,
hairdressers.
yeah, because if they want to do an assassination, like I believe they did Virginia and Princess Diana, and all of them, hundreds of thousands, the doorknob murders in Hollywood, those were, they need MK Ultra people to do those. And then they need morticians to lie, and all the way. So you're right. We're all affected. It's made the planet a prison planet, as Alex Jones likes to say. So, but we're the
Yeah.
whistleblowers. I'm hoping the next generation is going to be a lot more free. I don't know. Maybe it'll be my daughter's generation that gets free, but we're paving the path, or
Yes,
opening the
we're
path.
forging a path. Yeah.
Forging, that's what I'm looking for, forging. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for surviving.
Thank you
And
for having me on your show.
oh, I loved it. Thank you so much. And I know we're going to cross paths again. I'm absolutely sure. I'm sure we're related on some level, from Pleiadian or something, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Nicki.
Thank you.
Okay, bye. Stop.